this lesson is based on the Power Rangers, and it's about having power in numbers, okay? So I am pretty sure that most of you are too young to really remember the Power Rangers. But you guys remember them? Okay. I like that. That's positive, okay? The Power Rangers were some of my favorite superheroes. I love to watch them. I even made my wife go out and watch the newest movie. She did not care for it as much as I did, but afterwards she made me go shopping, so we were even, okay? But if you've ever watched the Power Rangers, how it always started, right, it was a group of teenagers who all had these special powers. They were different animals or whatever, right? Mighty Morphin was the best, but that's just my opinion, okay? But they would all start fighting by themselves. So they would start off fighting individually, each one of them trying to fight. And how would that usually go? Bad, right? They would always end up losing. They would be starting to lose to the bad guy. They would have no hope of ever getting to defeat them, right? And then you start being like, man, are they really going to lose this battle? And then what they did was they started fighting together, right? They usually combined into some giant robot or something like that and would take them down, okay? And the really cool thing about the Power Rangers was that they used each other, right? One-on-one, whenever they were overwhelmed, they would eventually start to lose. But instead of giving up, they then joined together to become even stronger, right? And as Christians, so often we find ourselves feeling super alone, right? Fighting our own battles like we have nobody else around us. And whenever we're doing that, a lot of times those battles begin to overwhelm us. We feel like those battles are going to overcome us and we're not going to be able to handle that because we're alone. Feeling alone is probably the worst feeling that you can have, right? And so whenever we live our Christian lives, we have to remember that we're not alone, that our strength is in numbers, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to run through 5 verses, okay? We have 5 verses that we're going to quickly run through to just look at the power of numbers that we have, right? You look around, there's a bunch of us here. So we're going to look and talk about the power of numbers. All right, let's begin in Galatians chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. Galatians 6, starting in verse 1, it says, Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Bear ye one another burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ, right? So the very first verse says, whenever somebody's overtaken, whenever somebody's struggling, pick each other up, right? We have our power in numbers whenever we unite together. Whenever we fight together and we have other people by our sides, we are so much stronger than we ever are by ourselves, okay? Let's go to our next verse. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. Now, this is kind of the opposite, right? Because we can have power in numbers, but we can also be drawn down by others. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33 says, Be not deceived, evil communication corrupt good morals, right? Whenever you're fighting a battle by yourself, you want people there by your side who are going to build you up. There's a lot of people in your lives, if you have not already met them, that you will meet, that are going to try to pull you down. Those are not the people that you want around you whenever you're trying to fight your battles, whenever you're trying to overcome those things in life. And 1 Corinthians 15:33 tells us that exact thing. If you surround yourself with people that are trying to pull you down, they're going to pull you down. It won't work, right? So we have to remember to surround ourselves with the right people. Let's turn to Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17. I couldn't not have this in my lesson. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17 says, Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Right? Whenever you sharpen a knife, you don't sharpen it against something that's soft. You sharpen it up against another knife, right? If you want to get iron to its best ability, use iron to sharpen it. And so if we surround ourselves with other people who are striving to do what we're trying to do, striving to be good Christians, we're only going to make ourselves stronger. And having that bond makes us even stronger, just like those Power Rangers. Okay? Now, let's turn to Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 12. I'm going to give you a minute because I can never find Ecclesiastes. It's right after Proverbs. If you're in your Bible, it's right after Proverbs. Because I sat in the back trying to find this for probably like 5 minutes. I'm embarrassed to say it, but it's true. Okay? Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 12. And JJ read these verses a little bit during his lesson, but I want to reemphasize them. Starting in verse 9, it says, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fail, the one will lift up his fellow, but woe to him that is alone. When he falleth, he hath not another to help him up. Again, if 2 lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? And if 1 prevail against him, 2 shall withstand him, and 3-fold cord is not quickly broken. And I love that last verse, right? Because it says if 1 prevails against him, right? If you can do it by yourself, that's great. But if you put 2 people together, you're really doing something special. You put 3 Christians together, if you put 3 people around you, that's hard to break up. That's a hard bond to break. So even whenever you can do it by yourself, even whenever you can make it through by yourself, you can still recruit those around you to help you, to strengthen you. And now you may be thinking, but Connor, sometimes there's times where I just have no one around me, where I feel 100% alone and I can't reach out to anybody. 1, that's not true. You have a room full of people here that are ready to stand around you and to help you through your times. But let's look through Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. I think this is one of the greatest things that a Christian can hear. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. It says, let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, God has said, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. No matter what you are feeling, no matter how alone, how stranded you feel, the God who created everything by speaking, the God who is all-powerful, the God who created each and every one of us, who is willing and able to beat every battle that you ever come up against, He is by your side. You are never truly alone. Whenever you feel like you are in your most alone state, God is always by your side. So whenever you start to feel alone, whenever you feel the world coming down on you, the problems crushing in as you, first thing you should do, remind yourself, the all-powerful God, the God who created everything and spoke this world into existence, He is on my side. And then the next thing you should do is reach out to this room full of people around you. Reach out to the person you're sitting next to and say, hey, I'm struggling. I need your help. Hey, I just need to be around you. I just want to be with you. And it will make you strong. And that's why I love this youth rally. Because for tonight and into tomorrow, you are going to spend so many hours around fellow young Christians who are striving to do the same thing that you want to do. And you will be reminded over and over and over again that you are not alone. The world wants to convince you you are alone, but we will remind each other we are not alone. So whenever we feel overwhelmed, whenever we feel like the world is crushing in on us, that we are all by ourselves, reach out to each other because our power is in numbers. Okay? So now to tie this all in, something I say at every youth rally, don't let this opportunity pass you up. If you have questions, if you're struggling with something, find somebody and talk to them because these opportunities aren't around every weekend, right? Not every weekend can we all get together like this and have so much fellowship and so much studying and so much learning. Take advantage of this. If you have questions, if you have problems, talk to people around you. If you look around and you say, I have no one I can talk to, come talk to me, right? Find somebody to talk to if you have those questions, if you have those concerns, if you have those problems. I cannot tell you all how thankful and grateful I am to look out and see everybody in this congregation right now. Everybody sitting here, because that means that you've already made the choice to put God first, like JJ said, okay? So now dovetailing out of my lesson, we're done with the lesson.